I'm Corey Philly. I'm the executive director of the Vancouver Fringe Festival, and welcome to, I don't know what number it is, All Things Fringey, our podcast. I'd like to acknowledge that we are in the unceded traditional occupied territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, and it is an honor to live, work, and now do podcasts on these territories. So that's very cool. I've been off for a bit. We did a podcast every day through the Fringe Festival, September 8th to 18th. And I came down with COVID afterwards. So we just put everything on hold. And this is the end result after 6 weeks is just I have a little hack, but I'm not contagious. At least that's what I believe. No, I'm not contagious. I'm just irritating myself, not anybody around me. I would just like to say again how wonderful it was that everybody tuned in and became involved in the Fringe Festival. And I ran into a few human beings that actually saw some of the podcasts through the festival, and they were very complimentary, and they came up and said hello to me. And should you ever see me, please do so. We are doing a show with Playwrights Theatre Center November 7th to 13th. Actually, the show runs November 10th to 13th. Go to Playwrights Theatre Center for information about tickets. They're $25. It's from a new playwright, and the show's called Frontliners. The Frontliners, and it was supposed to be at the Fringe, but due to casting problems, they weren't able to do that. I'd like to give you a little update also on Matt, our lovely marketing and communications manager who got hit by a car during the festival. He is doing much better. He's had some surgery on his face, but he came to visit about a week and a half ago and is up and walking around. And hopefully, in a few weeks he'll be back. But it was really good to see him and really good to see that he's progressing. And that was very cool. We are going to proceed forward with the season with the Frontliners, and we're also going to do a cabaret in February, and we'll let you know more about that. We decided our applications are going to open on December 7th, so that will be put out onto our newsletter and our social media, and we'll have the lottery sometime in mid-January is when we're thinking. So just give enough people time to do that. So that's all the news I think that I have fit to print, but really, again, just a huge thank you to everybody who's been involved with the festival, all our sponsors, donors, volunteers, board of directors, all our cultural partners, the human beings in this room, Ken and Marvin, who've been delightful and who did all our live streaming and our podcasts. Just couldn't have done it without you, and it's been a really honor to work with everybody to make this happened this year. So moving on. Today we have some really cool people who we want to talk to. What is so great today is that we have two of my most favorite people. They've been amazing cultural partners with us through the Fringe and just as good human beings to go have a drink with. So I just wanted to introduce you to Dave DeVoe and Jenica Grenka, and they are co-artistic and managing directors, right, of Carousel Theatre for Young People. Woohoo!
Woohoo! That's
hey,
us.
friends.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's such a delight to be in a room with people again. So, that's true. Yeah. I was, a little off because of the vid. So, yes.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, that was my gift to finishing the Fringe Festival.
Oh God!
But afterwards, which was a great timing on my part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well done,
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Let me just thank you.
It was great to have the Fringe back, I have to say. So, congratulations, legitimately,
thanks,
for bringing it
Jenica.
back.
That's nice. But also, it was so great to have you as partners in this, to do the Fringe Award. It's TYP, Carousel Theatre for Young People.
For young people.
Family
the
Forward.
Family Forward Award.
Right, right. And this is very cool.
Nailed it.
Yeah, nailed it. Well done. This is our endeavor to remain good partners, cultural partners, and also to put residencies forward and help and mentor young people, which of course is part of what you do anyway.
Yeah.
But if you don't mind me asking, I would like to know a little bit. I know you've been at Carousel for just over a year, yeah? Right? Congratulations
Thanks.
yourselves. My God, you made it, friends. But could you, either one of you, start about just talking about how you got into theater? And I always ask where people were born. I'm a Vancouverite, born and bred, very unusual. How about yourselves?
Well, I'm not from Vancouver. In fact, I was born in Steinbach, Manitoba, which is a Mennonite German community in the southeast. And so it ties directly into how I got into theater because in my community, homosexuality is not permitted. And so when my brother came out in high school, we were excommunicated from the church. And so I found myself quite young and without the community that I'd always had. And so somehow I found a drama club at my local school, and I wasn't in private school, I was in the public school then. And so I started doing drama, and I found my new community there, and I got the bug, and I never looked back. Although I do think I played the baby Jesus when I was 3 months. So I do think that had a little something to do with it. I got
that is often the gateway drug, isn't it?
So,
the baby Jesus.
Yeah, that's right. That's my abridged how I got into the theater. Thanks, Christianity.
Oh, wow.
And did you do your first when you were in Manitoba? Did you go to university there? Did you head off for other places? It's and I also have to say it's such a interesting thing to still be in a community of which is not recognizing you to some degree. It must have been a very strange experience. It was kind of heartbreaking, but also strange.
It was strange. Like my brother's 10 years older than me, so luckily I was quite young, and I just sort of rode the wave of weird newness as like just life. But my siblings, like my brother, of course, had a really hard time. My sister had a hard time not getting invited to birthday parties and not being so, theater's not her thing. So it was a bit of a struggle for her to find her place. And of course, for my parents, like they were facing the ramifications of this in their careers themselves. And so it was an incredibly bizarre thing to go through that it feels like it wouldn't happen in modern society, but it does. And so we moved to Winnipeg after I graduated from high school, and then I went to the University of Winnipeg, the theater program there, and I have my Bachelor of Arts honors degree. And my first professional show, I worked with someone named Bob Metcalf, who is... Yeah, people know him. He's from here. Yep. And yes, so he said I was good, but I could be better. And he suggested I go to Studio 58. And so then I auditioned and I got into Studio 58 and I moved to Vancouver. And that's sort of how I'm here.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's so interesting about Studio 58. I didn't know you were a 58er. I didn't know that. But nice to meet you.
Thanks for greater. Yeah.
Thanks for nice to meet you.
And it's true.
And did you start out like acting? Because I know you mostly as a director at the moment, right? But did you start out as an actor? Was that where you planted yourself initially?
I did. I started as an actor, and I was ruthlessly committed to only being an actor. And then despite everyone throughout my whole education saying, I think you're a director, you should try directing, you should really be a director. And then finally I did it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is the fit for me. Yeah.
And what would you say is the difference? I mean, I can guess, but what is the difference between being an actor and that feeling of being a director that made it right for you?
So I think that in my head, when I read a script, I fill in all of the rest of the things that should happen or do happen. And as an actor, that's kind of good. You can use bits and pieces of that to feed your character.
Right.
But it's not good to wish for your co-actor to do something a certain way so badly so that you could do this thing and then it would be better. So that's not necessarily a good attribute in an actor, but it is something that's good in a director. And so something that I was doing anyway and maybe kind of fighting as an actor is something that really helps me as a director.
Yeah, right. Seeing the big picture and seeing how people could be improving in those situations. Well, I mean, opinion, but still, I have the same problem most of the time. Okay, that's cool. And you, sir?
I was born in Thunder Bay, Ontario, but my family moved around a lot. So we moved to Calgary just about 2 years after I was born. And in Calgary, I think I was in kindergarten, and there was a teacher's assistant in our class who spoke with my mom after school one day and said, your kid is really like a performer and he's really charismatic, and my mom is an agent. Do you have any interest in meeting with her? And I remember my mom sort of saying, because I don't come from an arts family at all, so they contemplated I don't know, does that sound fun? Like, Dave, do you want to be on camera. And I was a kid, so I was like, yeah, great. So we met with her and we signed with her. And then I started working in film and TV from the age of 5 until I left when I was about 14, maybe a bit later than that. And so through my love of performing and doing, it was mostly like commercial work in Calgary. And then we moved to Montreal and I ended up doing a lot of film and TV. That's where I found theater, oddly enough, because I found community theater when I was living in Montreal.
Community theater.
Yeah.
Community theater.
Because, when you're on set for a few months of the year, you can't actually participate in like a drama program because you need to physically be there. Yeah. And I think I always knew that like I was not a great actor. I was just a lucky actor who kept booking things because at the time, like there were a lot of things shooting in Montreal that required like the goofy fat kid. And I was it. If there was that role, like I was the guy who was going to land it, and I did. And so I knew.
Do you think that was good? Do you think it's because you didn't really have a fear of auditioning? Do you feel like what?
I had a crippling fear of auditioning, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it's why I sort of transitioned out of, one of the many reasons I transitioned out of acting was because I was just like, I don't think my blood pressure can take that of just the agent calls to say you have an agent, and all of a sudden I'm like freaking out, and so I ended up pivoting to being a writer. I wrote all the time as a kid. I've never been able to draw, but I wrote stories all the time as a kid. And then I wanted to go to this fine arts high school in Ottawa. And I thought I was going to audition for the drama program. But again, I was on a TV series at the time. So they said, you can't miss 3 or 4 months of school. Yeah. It's not possible. But they had a creative writing program. And it was clear that, I can write on set and fax it in.
Yeah, faxed it in.
I'm that old. It really did. Subtitle here explaining what a fax is for our younger viewers.
I had to explain what a phone was to my new volunteer coordinators. Is like a handset phone. Oh God. They had never seen one before. They're 20.
I'm gobsmacked.
Oh my God.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
I don't even want to tell them about I didn't want to tell them about a rotary.
Oh yeah,
phone.
don't.
There's those videos of kids who are like, "Why do you do this?" When you say answering a phone, they didn't understand that,
right? Because they don't get
it's
that.
like this.
Oh.
And this was a mystery, and it's just ours was like a portable phone, like we have in the office. Anyway, sorry.
Back to your childhood.
No. So I went into the creative writing program, did that, still did some film and TV. Then I was really I was a kid who loved school, and I think like spending time away from school, though exciting, was also really stressful because I liked being around my friends and I liked learning.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having a choice of the series I was on ended, and I'd booked another series, but by then I'd already applied for university. And I had really wanted to go to York University in particular because they have a devised theater program, and I was so passionate. And I got early acceptance to that program. And I remember having to call my agent and say, we've decided not to take this series because I need a life that's not that. I think I knew I'm not going to make it as an actor. That's not my stream. So it's the best thing I ever did. That's where I discovered that I was a playwright, and I've been writing ever since. Was at university.
And you are such a good playwright.
Thank you.
Yes, you are such a good playwright. And also, I think you're a person who has sort of really, taken issues that were in your own life and really brought them out to have a transparent, interesting, funny, in-depth conversation with them, with the humans around them, right? And I think that's always... It's such it's a gift to be able to, to be, it's not really transparent, just to be that honest, you know what I mean, to a certain degree. I think that's not true for everybody. It's why I like your writing is because, you show up, even I know it's not every character's you, I just mean you show up as in that a lot.
Yeah, for me, a play, because I've taught playwriting before, and I always talk about, a play is a conversation. For me, I don't know how to write a play if I don't have a question that I've sort of been grappling with, that I really try to tease out all different sides of whatever that question is, but I still don't know. So it's time for me to throw the ball at you. What do you think about this?
Yeah.
My job is not to tell you everything I know about it. my job is not to be right. I'm not smarter than my audience, and any writer who assumes they are is not worth your time. But I just like, sort of throwing something in the air and seeing who's going to catch it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think that's a lot of artistic collaboration. I'm sorry, I'm going to forget the name of the show that you did at the end of the year that was so beautiful.
Oh, Ladies and Gentlemen,
directing.
Boys and Girls,
Yes.
written by Dave DeVoe.
Yes.
You did it right. You did it right.
I'm mortified.
Such a lovely show and so well directed. Honestly, it was
Thanks.
I was having a moment and I went for the matinee on, I think it was a Friday, and I was with a whole bunch of kids and I sat at the back and they sat at the front of the waterfront.
Yeah.
And it was delightful. It was immersive. It was delightful. It was funny. It was touching. It was all that. And I think you had a really great cast who were very.
The cast was spectacular.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was so many of us had been away from theater for so long, and it was like sort of like this fun adventure. Like we felt a bit like pioneers or something, like figuring out how to do it again and how to ride that wave. And this play was such a beautiful way to bring us all together. It became just a labor of love, and like it was so incredibly art filled. Like the actors never stopped like making new offers, and sometimes I would go see the show and I'd be like, okay, that has to go. But it was so nice. It stayed alive. It was like it had a heartbeat and it had breath, and it's like what you always dream will happen with your show. And as a director, you leave after opening, so it like the show just goes on. You get empty nest syndrome, and then but it was this one I could see it still moving on, and I think it's still within all of us who are working on that.
Yeah. Well, and I think you could really feel that, and I think maybe that's and also it's a value I think maybe you bring into it. I will say there was like. There was lots of topsy-turvy in the Fringe Festival, and the human beings that showed up for me on a consistent basis were these two, mostly with booze, which I was helpful. That was really helpful. I was like, oh, thank God. Anyway.
Like wine?
Yeah. And we were creating a cacophony outside their door, so thank Jesus they wanted to come in and have a conversation with me. In fact, it was so great. Well, here's the thing. So here you arrive. You're both obviously have very independent careers. You also are with ZZ Theater. You've worked a lot elsewhere. Yeah. What was it that, first of all, made you decide, hey, we would be great co-s, right? And co-workers, co-artistic directors, co-managers. And then what did you think you could bring to Carousel? And I guess maybe I'm talking about values, but also just like, what was the why? Like why, we were just talking about why do you want to write? Why did you want to take that on?
Great.
That is a great question. So I think this is sort of like artistic leadership has been in my sort of goals for quite some time. And so it's always been something I've been like keeping my senses appealed for and sort of building up my own skill set to pursue one day. And so then when the pandemic happened and there was this sort of wave of criticism of artistic leaders across the country, and like a new examination of what we really valued as a society and as a theater community. And so the theater I was at the time, Persephone, was going through a very tumultuous time as well, and a changeover in leadership. And so I was experiencing and bearing witness to this like time of flux. And Dave and I were part of what we called the TYA Wine and Wines. So we would meet through the pandemic on Zoom with it was Dave, myself, some other TYA artistic leaders across the country, and we would sort of vent about what we were unhappy with and what we wanted to see in the future and what we could do and what we would do if we could, ever have the reins ourselves. And then the opportunity kind of presented itself. And since Dave and I, we've been colleagues and friends for over a decade, and we reconnected over like programming at Persephone, and then through the Wine and Wines. And so we started to pitch, like we talked to each other like, hey, would you want to partner on this application? Would you want to go in as a team? And we agreed, and we applied together. So we wrote a joint cover letter, and we applied together, and we weren't going to take it if they just offered it to one of us. And
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like so much of my body of work as a playwright is theater for young audiences. It's where I feel the most that theater is productive. Like, productive is maybe not the right word, but I think a lot of us in theater are often like, is theater changing the world? And people get really like, yeah, of course it is. And I'm like, well, I'm not totally convinced that it is. But I am actually convinced that theater for young audiences can and does.
Yeah.
That like, and we talk a lot when in our grant writing, even at Carousel, about like the privilege of bringing new ideas to young minds and letting them sort of find agency of how they feel about those things.
Right. Yeah.
That does change the world ultimately.
Yeah.
And so, most of my playwriting contemporaries have sort of touched down into TYA and written a TYA show and then continued on in their careers. And I was sort of one of the few that stayed. And I thought, like, I believe in this way more than many people. And I do think that my skill sets could be useful in TYA leadership in some way. So oddly enough, like just before the pandemic, I had spent a year shadowing Catherine Carroll at the Children's Festival.
Right, yes.
Through a grant because the goal was I want to someday lead something. And then suddenly Carousel was hiring and I had met Jenica and our skill sets really complemented one another. And here we are. And it's a wild ride. It's really, some days it's really, really difficult, but we always laugh a lot. Yeah. I think we're very fortunate that we're in it together. And so even on the hardest days, we're navigating that real tough despair together and able to pull each other back from that because, life in arts admin, it's heavy on the admin and light on the arts often.
Yeah,
so
yeah, for sure.
I'm sure you know.
No, I don't know that.
Come on.
Have you heard that, Corey?
No, I haven't heard that. But I think I should take notes
Absolutely.
about that one in particular. Yeah, it does seem like there's a great complementary situation that's gone on between the two of you in terms of also just burden of, who's taking the reins this week or all that kind of stuff. It's sometimes... because I think those are really hard things to find in life. Forget about in work, like, to find those kind of relationships. And as we know, everything is relationship, even whatever we want to call it. They call it human resources, you call it whatever, but really it's relationship that you're making. I guess my question would be is that what values, you've done tremendous work through a really difficult time as we moved out of sort of not speaking to each other in a room to actually being in a room, which we are right now, talking to each other. And so what kind of values do you think, this is because I'm looking at this myself, Fringey, do you think that if you were going to say you wanted to leave as a legacy for the organization, what would that look like? What would that legacy look like? Because, you're in a year, you've been here a year, however long you're going to be in the whole situation. What then is that if you're here 3 or 5 or 10, would you like the organization to look like, be at the end of that?
I think, having theater saved my life so many times throughout my life and has been, I was that kid who needed it. And so I think, and I didn't even really see myself on stage. So what am I trying to say? I can recognize the importance of it. And I think now we have the ability to bring stories that aren't necessarily featured in TYA that often and definitely not on a main stage in Vancouver, that we have the ability to bring those stories to life. And even with Dave's show, with Ladies and Gentlemen, Boys and Girls, like so
Which
many...
is about non-binary characters, by the way, so that's what part
yeah,
of it
yeah. And also like just a family going through this experience together and like sort of siblings, being mad at each other for like, why are you blowing up my world? Like I'm in school too. And so certain things like that, like there's elements in the work that we're doing that I think are just so relatable to everybody that maybe didn't see themselves on our stages before. With the old Carousel, we kind of call it Carousel 2.0.
Yeah.
And we're sort of like, we're stretching the mandate of, being notorious for bringing works of great literature to the stage in a kids play. And we're sort of stretching that mandate out to being like, what stories do we want to tell? What people do we want to have seen on our stage? And I'm getting kind of rambly, so Dave, please save me.
I think that's
Pass the baton.
well, I think anytime that there is sort of new management, you bring in like some new lenses to look through. That there's new air in the building, and so I think exactly what Jenica was talking about. We're sort of trickling down through all departments of the theater, as far as like, maybe we're not doing plays for babies, but we're doing just these like amazing dance parties with a live DJ because, I have a kid. My kid just wants to like dance in my living room and in a space that is welcoming of children dancing and being raucous and loud. Yeah. So let's, rather than like shushing children, let's create environments for them to be loud so they can pass out in the car for the parents on the way home, right?
Right? Yeah,
like we're serving kids, absolutely, but we're serving their families. We're serving, like, what we're not looking to do is occupy children for an hour. There are lots of things that can busy a child for an hour.
Yeah.
Like, if we're having people come visit us, let's make it meaningful. Let's actually have it open up conversations, or have children experience a thing they can't have at home because they live in an apartment building and they can't have a loud dance party with the DJ. I think Carousel 2.0 is like, the space that you didn't know you needed, but now you can't live without.
Oh, I love that. That's why you're the writer.
I've just been sitting here quietly the whole time, not listening to a word you said, just being like, find the soundbite, Dave, find it.
Well,
and you did.
You did bring up a good point, is that during the festival, during the Fringe Festival, we partnered on Baby Rave 1, which was hysterical and so much fun. Like, what, 150 kids through there?
Yeah.
It was funny because I was on my way to do a podcast on the morning it was a Sunday morning, and we had, as we all know, amazing weather here, probably a little bit too amazing weather here through the last few months. And so I popped in, and there was like, however many people, and then I left, and I came back, and by that time it was just like going. It was a going and going and going. Yeah. And we are now going to have the Baby Rave on
October 30th, number 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's this
Halloween.
Sunday.
That is this Sunday. Oh, wow.
I know.
That's this Sunday.
Yeah, it is. That's this Sunday. Oh, well.
Yeah.
And in your studio at the Carousel.
It's going to be at Studio A at Carousel, 1411 Cartwright Street. It's free. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we will have like stroller parking outside.
We'll
and
have some face painting again.
Face painting. We bought 4 more bubble machines.
Oh, so it's not just...
The bubble machines were the hit.
Oh, yeah.
They were the hit.
Yeah.
For sure.
And DJ Spin and Tonic will be back, and
great.
Yeah.
And 10?
It starts at
9 to 11:30.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what I'm going to be doing. Getting up early on Sunday so I can come to the Baby Rave.
It's like a workout.
Yeah. Like, I mean, my kid wakes up every day at 6:30, so it's like 9 o'clock. Wow, it starts so late. Like, it's so funny. Like, I'm picturing like the 2-year-olds. Like, oh god, they're probably up at 5.
Oh,
so
oh god, yeah.
Those parents are
especially
going to be
on Sundays, right?
Ugh.
It's like there's something brewing. You're having to go. Like, there's something new happening. That excitement. I mean, the amount of Captain Crunch I ate between 5 and 7 a.m.
That is so funny.
I know.
I know.
As if I wasn't a hyper child enough. I just have to say that out loud. And also, I'd like to know what else is going on at Carousel. What's next? That's what's happening right now for you, and what's your show next?
Well, we should shout out the Fringe again, because you were a partner on our community events for Frozen River, which just closed. That was our first show of the season, and it was good to see so many people back. It was great to welcome a live audience, more robust audience back.
Yeah.
And the community events were fantastic. And the DJ O show workshop with kids was fantastic.
Oh, great.
It was awesome. So thank you to the Fringe for
we're
being an excellent
so
partner
excited
there.
to be involved in that, and also we were just lying down at that point, so it was great. It was great that somebody else was doing work. We were just like, sure.
Yeah.
That's good.
But also, thank you for asking us. We're always wishing to be a part of it.
Yeah, Fringe has been so great to work with. And so then next up for us, we go into rehearsals early November for the Three Little Pigs musical.
Yeah.
Styles and Drew's Three Little Pigs. I think I have to say that legally.
That is the full name.
They are the creators of this play, this musical. They also created Mary Poppins, which was on Broadway in the West End.
Right. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So
This is the Canadian premiere of this one.
Oh,
so-
wow.
Yes.
Look
Hello.
at you.
Hello.
Hello
right.
there.
Directed by Chris Lamb.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
For sure.
So
It'll be a
it's
lot of fun.
and it's a stellar cast. I think we can say that Kamiar Pazenda is going to be the wolf, the big bad wolf.
Oh,
So it's
cool.
going to be a riot, and I'm sure we're all going to know the songs inside and out by the
Oh,
time
I already
opening
do.
arrives.
They're very popular in my house.
Oh, right. And of course, you're just working right over the studio where it's all going to be
Yeah.
rehearsed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've got the set is being built right now with our friends over at the Arts Club, and so it's going to be spectacular.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really terrific.
Yeah.
And and how are people supposed to get tickets, please?
Oh, please visit our website, carouseltheater.ca, and click the buy tickets button.
And they're on sale now?
They're on sale now.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
And also, are you doing a series this year? Are you doing a subscription series?
We
No,
are
we're
not
not.
this year.
Oh.
For a number of reasons. I mean, one, like, as we all know, we're still living in like really complicated times. And in case suddenly one of the shows in the season couldn't move forward because we're in the 475th wave, it felt like a lot of asking people to spend money and then give money back and then or put money in a credit.
I have spent so much of my last 2 years prior to this returning money to people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just like, it was sad on so many levels, but honestly, at some moment on it, just like a really like, it's just going out the door again.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah.
You know, all that activity and
Oh
things.
my God.
But I totally understand. Well, that's very cool. So, okay, so I know we're coming down to our end because you guys did this at a very last moment for me to do this, and we squished it into this little bit of thing. But I want to ask, what are you excited about? Doesn't have to be anything about work or anything that we're talking about or anything that's going on. It can be something in your life. And or it can just be that you're or what are you looking forward to or what's going on in your world that is just interesting to you right now.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, I am really lucky, and I'm covering a leave at Studio 58, so the school that I graduated from 10 years ago. I have returned, and I'm teaching there like 5 hours a week. Their B-term acting class, and it has been such a joy and a pleasure to sort of test the waters of my theories as a director when it comes to teaching emerging actors and seeing them learn and grow and of course they influence me, and I learned so much from them about how I can be a better person and director and theater artist. So that has just been an incredible joy to return there and work with this lovely group of young people.
That's so cool, Jamaica. That's nice, right?
Yeah, it's been really...
But not unexpected, but you know what I mean. You never know when you go into
Yeah,
those
it
things,
was. I literally got the call and started the next day, and so it was...
This, I must say, though, this is true of these two humans. You call upon them and very much will go, yes. Or no, but really clear. Like they really want to. And that's the other part. So it's always there's always a willingness. I love the fact that you guys are so willing.
Thanks.
Well, and I had my first day, but I don't know when my next day will be, of starting to wrap my head around a new play that I'll be writing for the Arts Club with my friend Megan Gardner.
That's great.
We were commissioned as part of the Silver Commissions program, and it's probably like the most personal show we've either of us has ever written, even though we've both written a pretty personal body of work. But it's really like a love letter to our families.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it's characters based on myself and my husband and her husband and our children. So it's called Butte right now. Oh. She's a beaut. It's about hockey and drag. And stay tuned. We're just starting, but it's nice for, you know, my writer brain to start flexing muscles again. And it's sort of just doing push-ups in the back of my mind every day, like getting ready for like the Iron Man of actually writing that first draft.
How apropos for the play that you're working
Right?
on.
Yeah.
Push-ups and you play.
That's right.
Like you and me, because drag queens do push-ups. That's
That's
Otherwise-
dope, right?
she's writing the hockey part. I was like, I have no idea.
That's right.
And Corey, now you answer that. I want to know what.
Oh, what's exciting? I think what I'm sort of wrapping my head around, it's such an interesting thing going. I think what you were talking about going into carousel and seeing the season and going through it and having all those ups and downs about, can we have people? Can we not have people? Are people coming back? All that stuff, right? Which I think, especially this last year, was like everybody was so ready for something to happen, and then we were shut down again, and it was difficult. I think the thing I realized. I know this will sound unthought of, perhaps in my life, but I really didn't understand until I went through one festival that I needed to see the festival up and running before I could actually understand what people were talking to me about. I mean, as in, this happens here or that happens there or that was there. Because like yourselves, I came into a new sort of Fringe 2.0 is what I'm trying to do, as we all are trying to do, right? We're moving it forward in a particular way. And I really needed to see the human beings that were attached to some of these ideas and thoughts and everything, and to talk about, like, really see what a culture had been created and understand what that means for a future. So I was I have come to sort of where I am right now is I'm just feeling like I was like tons of work to do, and also, but hopeful. I felt hopeful. I feel like I have a whole bunch of ideas and actual plans that I feel able to be done now. Whereas before it just felt like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because I don't know what this is like until we get there. So I feel, yes, cautiously hopeful.
That is the
great.
theme of the year, for sure.
In Scorpio season, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Any of you Scorpios?
No. I'm a Leo.
You're Leo. Oh, Leo.
We
Okay.
were-
Tell.
We were texting, and she was telling me astrological stuff last night, and I was saying, like, I know so little about astrology that anytime anyone said, I'm like, oh yeah, because I'm just gonna play along because I don't. I'm like that. That
But you're
does sound
feeling
like
it.
Scorpio.
I know everyone's feeling.
Yeah,
That's true.
Mars is in retrograde and it's Scorpio season.
definitely.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Mars in retrograde, I'll believe in. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Scorpio season. It's always so strange to me. I always think of Scorpio as like, and yet it's
They've
getting
got
really
that
cold.
singer.
Yeah.
And today's also a solar eclipse. So
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
there you
it's
go.
another
See,
big
look.
thing.
Absolutely.
Yes, that is why the world exists as it does today.
You're welcome. I care for you. I light our candles. I do all of that for us.
You do.
God bless you both. Okay. Thank you so much for coming to do this. Thank you
Of
so much
course.
for
Such a
willing to
pleasure.
participate in this.
Yeah.
This may not be the only time. I hope to actually get into something, deeper at another different time, and we'll just dive into like a topic, and that would be exciting too. But I just love you both, and I'm so happy that you're here. And
Us
and
too.
Love you.
thank you to everyone who tuned in today. We really appreciate it. All Things Fringy is now, I don't know, I'm so excited to be back after going through the festival and then getting sick afterwards, and I'm feeling a little bit more revived. But we also are moving into our application season pretty soon, so that will be up. So I think we've decided on December 7th things are going to go back up again, which I know, right? And in the meantime, actually, we are doing a show with Playwrights Theater Center, the Frontliners, and that will be going up November 10th to 13th at the Waterfront Theater, and you can get your tickets at vancouverfringe.com or going to Playwrights Theater Center, and they have their tickets on sale there too. I think they're big $25, so well worth it. Really beautiful work from a new playwright.
That's a great play. I've read that play.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
Yeah, she's amazing. Zahida is a terrific, and she was here doing a podcast with
Nice.
the expectation that they would happen at the Fringe, but due to some casting challenges, they just didn't do it. So we're very excited to have her do that, and the Fringe is excited to be involved in that. And we're hoping to continue that tradition of continuing forward with a little bit of that kind of programming through the year. So
Awesome.
Oh, nice.
So exciting.
yeah, it's all cool.
Awesome.
So take care of yourselves. We'll see you in another month. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.